Intelligence reports confirm Iranian cyber warfare units have developed a new weapon that does not physically exist. Could this invisible threat, a ghost in the machine, collapse the United States power grid without firing a single shot? This is not a conventional cyber attack. Forget viruses designed to destroy centrifuges or malware that shuts down a pipeline. The operation, codenamed Ghost Load by a NATO cyber defense consortium, represents a paradigm shift in strategic warfare. It is an attack on the integrity of information itself. The target is not the physical hardware of the U.S. electrical grid, the transformers, the substations, the power lines. The target is the data that serves as the grid's central nervous system. Every second, regional grid operators across North America rely on sophisticated algorithms to balance energy supply with consumer demand. These systems forecast usage, set energy prices in real time, and automatically route electricity across thousands of miles. The Ghost Load operation is designed to poison this data stream. Operatives from Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Cyber Electronic Command have shifted from brute force tactics to a strategy of insidious manipulation. They are not breaking down the door, they are changing the building's blueprints while the architects are still inside. The objective is to create a ghost load, a phantom demand for electricity that exists only as false data. By infiltrating the networks of third-party software vendors and energy consultancies that service the grid, operatives can introduce microscopic data alterations. These are not massive, obvious spikes in demand. Instead, they are subtle, incremental increases over weeks, even months. 0.1% increase here, 0.25% there. Each change is so small it is dismissed by automated security systems as a statistical anomaly, a sensor error, or simple market noise. Over time, this drip feed of disinformation builds a completely fraudulent baseline of energy consumption. The system is trained to believe that a city, a state, or an entire region requires significantly more power than it actually does. This is the first phase of the attack, a quiet, patient corruption of the system's reality. The true danger begins in phase 2. When this ghost load is weaponized. With energy futures markets processing terabytes of data per second, how could a ghost load designed to manipulate pricing trigger a multi-trillion-dollar financial contagion before the first light flickers? The attack vector moves from infrastructure to the financial markets that are inextricably linked to it. The same algorithms that balance the physical load also determine the price of a megawatt hour in real time. By creating a false perception of high demand, the ghost load inflates energy prices in the target region. Automated trading systems, which execute billions of transactions based on these data feeds, would begin buying up energy contracts at an accelerated rate, anticipating a shortage. This creates a self-fulfilling prophecy, a digital panic based on a non-existent crisis. Human traders and analysts would be left scrambling, trying to understand a supply crunch that has no physical cause. The financial damage could be catastrophic, measured in the tens of billions of dollars within the first hour of activation. But the financial chaos is merely a smokescreen for the attack's ultimate objective: cascading physical failure. Imagine a hot summer day in the Eastern Interconnection, the massive grid serving the eastern two-thirds of the United States. The ghost load attack is activated. The corrupted algorithms at a key independent system operator, or ISO, suddenly report a massive, fictitious power demand in a metropolitan area like Philadelphia or Atlanta. The system, believing a crisis is unfolding, responds as it is designed to. It automatically begins to reroute enormous amounts of real electricity from neighboring utility regions to meet the phantom need. This creates a genuine power drain in the areas being drawn from. The lights in New York and Charlotte might begin to dim as their supply is diverted. Their own grid operators, seeing a sudden, inexplicable loss of power, would trigger their own emergency protocols. The crucial vulnerability is that each regional grid operator has only a partial view of the entire network. They trust the data they receive from their neighbors. When one operator transmits a desperate but false need for power, the others respond. This is how the cascade begins. A lie in one system creates a real crisis in another, and that real crisis spreads the instability exponentially. Intelligence now indicates that operatives from Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Cyber Electronic Command have successfully placed at least 3 sleeper data manipulation agents inside the networks of key North American independent system operators. These are not malware. They are patient, logic-based programs designed to learn the unique data signatures and operational rhythms of their host networks. They are currently in a dormant, observational phase, mapping data flows, and identifying the precise algorithmic pivot points where the smallest input can generate the largest systemic disruption. Recent analysis of a previously unexplained blackout in the ERCOT grid in Texas, which occurred on a mild day in October of 2023, now shows the hallmarks of a ghost load test run. The official report cited a combination of unexpected generator trips and a sensor malfunction. But a forensic data audit, conducted by analysts at the National Cybersecurity and Communications Integration Center, tells a different story. For a period of exactly 90 seconds leading up to the blackout, telemetry data from a solar farm in West Texas reported a power output that was physically impossible, a negative 150 megawatts. The system was being told that a power source was actively consuming a massive amount of electricity. It was a micro-ghost load. The automated grid management system, attempting to compensate for this phantom drain, rerouted power, placing unexpected stress on a substation 200 miles away, causing it to trip and trigger a localized blackout affecting 40,000 customers. At the time, it was logged as a cascading failure initiated by a sensor error. It is now understood to be a successful field test of the ghost load weapon. The operatives confirmed they could inject false data and produce a predictable, physical result in a live environment. The test also served another purpose: to measure the response time of the human operators. The analyst at the control center stares at the screen, a cold dread creeping in as he cross-references the timestamp of the supposed glitch, with a sudden, inexplicable 1.5% spike in ERCOT day-ahead energy futures contracts that vanished 30 seconds later. It wasn't a glitch, it was a rehearsal, and the log files show the malicious query didn't just read the data, it was actively writing new parameters into the load balancing tables. What this means is that the sleeper agent wasn't just tricking the system, it was teaching it a new, corrupted set of rules, a permanent backdoor, not in the code but in the grid's very logic. This elevates the threat from a temporary disruption to a fundamental compromise of the entire control philosophy. The weapon isn't just in the system, it's becoming part of the system. But here, the narrative takes a chilling, almost unbelievable turn. Why would Iran, a state actor known for meticulous planning and plausible deniability, use a tool that left such a clear, albeit complex, digital trail leading back to them? Could a group as sophisticated as the IRGC Cyber Command make such a rookie mistake? Or was it not a mistake at all? What if the trail wasn't discovered, but laid deep within the agent's core programming, buried under layers of decoy encryption designed to point towards Iranian servers? Forensic teams at the NSA found something else entirely. A signature, a coding framework that bore no resemblance to any known state-sponsored malware. It was compact, ruthlessly efficient, and modular. It was built not like a weapon, but like a product. Intelligence sources now believe the IRGC didn't create the ghost load. They bought it. They are just the first customer. The architects of this weapon are a new, ghost-like entity in the world of cyber warfare, a group for whom there is no official name, only a chilling designation given to them by the intelligence community: Prometheus Group. They are not a nation. They are a private consortium of elite, rogue coders, and systems engineers, cyber mercenaries operating at a level previously thought impossible. They don't steal money or secrets. They build and sell Armageddon as a service. This is the rehook, the true terror of the situation. The threat is no longer a predictable state actor with geopolitical goals. It is a private, for-profit enterprise that has successfully productized the collapse of a superpower. And if they sold it to Iran, who else is on their client list? Russia? North Korea? A hedge fund looking to short the entire American economy? A doomsday cult? The possibilities are endless and horrifying. But the story gets darker. Because the ghost load, the attack on the physical grid, is only phase one. It's the opening act, designed to create the perfect environment for the true weapon to be deployed. The Prometheus Group understood that a blackout, while devastating, is a solvable crisis. People come together. Communities persevere. So they designed Phase 2 to destroy that very resilience. They call it the Whisper Network. The Whisper Network is a synchronized, AI-driven disinformation weapon. It's designed to activate the moment the grid goes down, using the chaos and information vacuum as its breeding ground. It doesn't just spread fake news. It creates tailored, localized realities of pure terror. Imagine this. The power is out across the entire eastern seaboard. Your phone, running on battery and a still functioning cell tower, buzzes. It's a fake emergency alert, deep fake to look real, telling you an invasion is underway and instructing you to flee south. Simultaneously, Your neighbor receives a different alert on their device, telling them the threat is a dirty bomb in a southern city and they must evacuate north immediately. The AI generates thousands of conflicting narratives, creating mass confusion and turning evacuation routes into death traps. It hijacks smart home devices, using their speakers to broadcast false reports of chemical spills or contaminated water supplies. It goes deeper, getting personal. The system scrapes years of your social media data, learning your fears, your family connections. It then sends you personalized text messages, spoofed to look like they're from your loved ones. The message is a lie, generated by an algorithm, but in the darkness and confusion, how would you know? The goal of the Whisper Network is to achieve psychological fracturing on a societal scale. It turns the blackout from a shared hardship into millions of individual, isolated horror stories. It shatters trust in the government, in the media, and ultimately, in each other. Prometheus Group isn't just selling a blackout. They're selling the complete and total dissolution of a society. The question is no longer just how do you stop it, but who would build such a thing, and for God's sakes, why? The answer to why is the most terrifying part. It wasn't for money. It wasn't for chaos. It was a proof of concept. And the answer to who is even worse, because the original architect of this societal extinction event wasn't a foreign agent. He was one of our own. His name is redacted from the records, but sources who worked on Project Icarus called him the architect. He was a patriot, a prodigy recruited from MIT to a black-budget DARPA program designed to wargame the collapse of the United States. His job wasn't to attack America. It was to build a simulation so terrifyingly effective it would force the government to finally secure its crumbling, antiquated infrastructure. The Ghost Load and the Whisper Network were never meant to be weapons. They were a vaccine, a controlled burn designed to shock the system into developing immunity. But his creation was too perfect. The simulation predicted a 100% success rate. The Pentagon didn't see a warning. They saw an existential threat they couldn't control. They saw a man who had built God's own slingshot. The project was terminated. His research was classified, seized, and scheduled for digital incineration. They took his life's work, a warning meant to save millions, and tried to erase it. And in doing so, they created a ghost. The architect, fearing his work would be stolen from the archives and repurposed by the very people he sought to warn, vanished. He took the only existing copy of the source code and fractured it into 1,000 pieces, scattering them across the decentralized web. He didn't create Prometheus Group to sell Armageddon. He became Prometheus, the original bringer of a dangerous fire, and broke the chain himself, hoping to bury his creation forever. But you cannot uninvent the apocalypse. You cannot put the fire back in the box. Other rogue actors, nation-states, and private mercenaries had been hunting for this legend for years. They found the pieces, they reassembled his warning, and turned it into a product. The architect is likely long gone, a ghost in his own machine. He lost control of his monster, and now, that monster is on the open market. The attack on Texas wasn't an act of war from Iran. It was a product demo, a field test, a bloody and brilliant advertisement for the most dangerous weapon ever conceived. We are now living in the terrifying shadow of Project Icarus. The weapon is out. The blueprints are in the wild. And the fundamental weakness it exploits isn't in our power grid or our cell networks. It's in us. Our fear, our division, our inability to trust. The war of the 21st century has begun. Not with a bang, but with a whisper. A lie tailored just for you, delivered in the dark. We have built a world on a fragile network of light and information, and we've just handed the master switch to the highest bidder. The old maps won't help you here. To navigate the future, you need a new kind of watchtower. Subscribe to Global Crisis Radar, and we'll help you watch the storm as it gathers. Because the most dangerous crisis is the one you never see coming.